Rainollon here. Today is another build showcase, and today I'm going to show you my Lavos Prime build and explain all of the abilities. So, let us immediately start. Let's start with the abilities. So, let's start with his passive. His passive is when you pick up energy or universal orbs, it gives Lavos status effect immunity for 10 seconds, which is quite nice. What is that, you ask? You're immune to knockback, staggers, and all elemental effects on you, like viral, corrosion, toxin, gas, and other stuff, which is quite good. So now if I go in game and I pick up this energy orb right here, you can see right here that I'm immune to status effects for 10 seconds. To reset this passive, you just pick up another orb, and it's already back to 10 seconds, which you can be forever immune to status effects, which is quite nice. For his first ability, what it does is in a cone in front of you, you will do some toxin damage, and you're going to heal yourself if you lose health. The ability's damage itself doesn't do a lot of damage, it kind of falls off, especially in Steel Path. But when it comes to healing, it's quite nice. You can see at the middle, health drain 36.8, which means the moment I press it, I heal 36% of my health back, which is quite nice. You don't need to hit multiple enemies, you can just hit one enemy and you're going to be absolutely fine with your health, which is really, really good. Now, if I were to show you how does this ability work in game, so I'm going to spawn heavy gunners, they're going to shoot me, I'm going to lose some health, and the moment I lose a ton of health, I'm going to use my first ability and I'm going to heal myself. Come on. There we go. A little bit more, please. Thank you. Use my first ability. Full. There it is. You just full. Boom. Just by pressing your first ability, you heal yourself entirely, which is really, really good. So that's the first ability. So, for a second ability, what it does is you're going to dash forward, and while dashing, you're going to toss a bunch of vials everywhere, proccing cold damage. Some of them might get procced by 3 cold stacks, some of them 6, some of them 10, which is overall a solid mobile ability and has a really low cooldown of 5 seconds. So if I were to now summon a bunch of heavy gunners again and use it, right here, you're going to see I'm dashing forward and tossing all these vials everywhere. This green stuff on the floor, you can see that this guy's frozen. Some of them might have 6 procs. There it is. I'm going to use again. 3 procs here. 3 to 6 procs. It's all random. You can't really control it where this is going to fly. But yeah, if you want to cancel your second ability, you use it and you just jump, which you cancel it, which is also a solid option. And when it comes to damage, it just doesn't do a lot of damage. It's mostly designed for crowd control and also to move somewhere, like I just did over there. And that's pretty much it. That's the second ability. It's time for me to show you his third ability. What the third ability does is you're going to toss a probe forward. That's going to convert energy orbs into universal orbs, which is quite nice. Not only that, it converts all ammo pickups into universal ammo pickups, which is also really good. So if you have ammo problems for some weapon type, if you see a bunch of ammo on the floor, use your third ability, it's going to convert them into universal ammo, which you can just grab it for every weapon type, even arch guns, which is quite nice. Not only that, for each enemy that is hit by your third ability, it reduces your cooldown for all your abilities by 1.5 seconds, which is quite nice. So if I were to use my second ability, I'm going to spawn heavy gunners yet again. I'm going to use my second ability, my first ability. Boom. Boom. And then use my third ability. My first ability is back, which is quite nice. So you can constantly cast your abilities. I'm going to show you again. I'm going to use my fourth ability, which has the longest CDR. Use it right here. Then use my third ability to reduce the cooldown. You can see at the bottom right, the cooldown for the fourth ability is 30 seconds. If I use my third ability, it's back. So you can use it again, which is quite good. And it converts all the ammo to universal ammo. You can see right here, that's universal ammo. And this here is universal orb. So that's pretty much it with the third ability. And it's time for me to show you the final ability. And for his final ability, his fourth ability. So, what his fourth ability is, it's like his third ability, but it's in a 360 AoE, doing much more damage, proccing guaranteed heat, and also it does have a CO system, which is the only ability in entire game that has the CO system. What the CO is and what it means is conditional overload system, which for every status effect that is affecting a target, you're going to do more damage. So you have your first ability, which does toxin, second ability does cold, third ability does electricity, and your fourth ability does heat, and you're going to do a lot more damage. Now I'm going to spawn yet again the corrupted heavy gunners, use my fourth ability. You're going to see I didn't do a lot of damage. 977 with the guaranteed heat proc, didn't do much. But you need to remember that his ultimate ability has the CEO system. So if I were to use my second ability, your first ability, my third ability, and proc toxin, cold, and electricity, then use my fourth ability, you're going to see I'm doing right now 12,000 damage, and my heat procs are doing 4,000 per tick, which is much stronger. So you're definitely going to use a bunch of abilities or your primer to proc a bunch of elements, and you're going to do a lot more damage. And now that I explained all of his abilities, time for me to explain another very interesting system on Lavos that only he has, and that's by holding his abilities. So you can see at bottom right there is an icon of toxin, cold, electricity, and heat. If I were to hold my first ability, you're going to see a massive toxin status effect. If I want to hold now cold, which is my second ability, toxin and cold gives you viral. So what that means is my next ability, any ability of my 1, 2, 3, or 4, will have a guaranteed chance to proc viral. So if I were to now use my third ability on these guys, not only I will proc electricity, I will also proc viral. So if I were to hold now my third ability for electricity and my first ability for toxin, gives me corrosion. So now my first ability procs corrosion and toxin. If I were to hold my fourth ability, which gives me heat, and my second ability, which gives me cold, I get blast damage. So my third ability will also proc electricity and blast. It's a very interesting gimmick, and that's also complements your fourth ability by quite a lot. So what you can do is you can combine first ability into viral, do stuff like this, and this, and your fourth ability is going to do a lot more damage. You can proc even more elements than this, but this is a massive example that you can just proc a bunch of elements to complement your fourth ability by quite a lot. You're going to do much more damage. You can also utilize, like I said, a primer or some kind of dog for proccing a bunch of elements for you, so you can utilize your fourth ability to do a large amount of damage in a small radius. And yeah, that's a very interesting system that Lavos have, or has, and yeah, you can play around whatever you like. So that's pretty much it. That's the entire kit Lavos brings, and it's time for me to finally show you the build. So the mods I'm using on Lavos Prime, let us start. Corrosion Projection, which reduces enemies' armor by 18%, which is quite nice. Power Drift, ability, strength, and 3% chance to resist knockdown. Adaptation for 9% damage reduction. Arcane Continuity for ability duration. And when your ability procs Toxin, which my first ability does, you also proc Corrosion, which is nice. If you hold your first ability, which gives you Toxin, and you use your second, third, and fourth ability, I also think it procs Corrosion, which is also nice as well. Stretch for ability range. 2 augments, which I'm going to talk about very soon, and all the Umbras. Vitality for health, Intensifies for strength, and Fiber for armor. So these are the mods. For the Arcanes, Arcane Blessing, Health Orbs gives you 24 max health, stacks up 50 times, so that's 1200 health at max. This guy does generate a huge amount of health orbs because of his third ability turning orbs into universal orbs. Universal orbs do count towards health orbs pickup, which you can easily stack up Arcane Blessing in no time. And there is also synergy with Arcane Blessing with Arcane Bellicose. Bellicose, you gain 6% ability strength for every 250 max health, up to 72%. Once you have 3000 health, you cap this, giving you permanent 72% ability strength, which is quite nice. And you wonder How? He has 2240 health, but with Arcane Blessing. Once Arcane Blessing gives you that 1000, which is going to be over 3000 health, you're going to cap this, which is quite nice. There's synergy here. One gives you survivability and one gives you power, which is a really, really nice synergy. So those are the Arcanes. For the stats here, he's a health Warframe. He kind of likes all the Umbras. Vitality gives you huge amount of health. 2000 health plus this. It's going to be like 3440 health, which is quite nice. He's also armor Warframe, which makes sense to use Umbra Fiber to boost that armor to all the way up to 1890, which is 86.3% reduced damage to health. Plus adaptation, you're very tanky, and your first ability also heals you. Really good. Ability duration, more than enough. Range, more than enough. Strength, he likes strength. Efficiency, it isn't a energy Warframe, he doesn't use energy. Streamline does reduce your third ability CDR even more when you hit enemies or per hit. Personally, it's not really worth it. I think this is more than enough. And this one, which is really the most strongest one, I will say. So scales with ability duration. You're like, what? Status duration scales with ability duration. This is a more damage increase, which is really good. Makes all damaging elements last longer, which is a more damage increase. This is very powerful. For every duration mod you have, you increase your status duration. Really good. 155 is more than enough, I will say. There's no room for more ability duration. You can technically utilize Archon Shards for more ability duration, but I will not recommend. Overall, the stats here are fine. So the last thing I'll show and explain his augments. So this augment here is his passive augment. What it does is when you combine his abilities or his elements, let's say you combine the Toxin from your first ability and second ability, which is Cold. Toxin Cold gives you viral, and when you use an ability for the next 20 seconds, you give yourself 200% bonus elemental damage for your weapons, and it has a guaranteed chance to proc that status effect, which is a quite solid augment, I will say. Nothing mind-blowing, but it's pretty solid. I will say this is a must-have. I will highly recommend getting this. You will turn Lavos not only into a caster, but also a pretty solid buffer. And his augment for his first ability. So what this augment does is, when you use your first ability, you reduce the cooldown all over your abilities by 4 seconds. It says here cooldown by 4 seconds when at least 4 enemies are hit by your first ability. Not only that, your first ability range is increased by 30%, which is not a lot. So try to hit as many enemies you can to reduce your cooldown all of your abilities. There's synergy with your third ability and first ability. You can cycle between them, which is quite nice. Getting your fourth ability back, getting your mobility ability back. And yeah, this is something I will highly recommend. Getting this setup here, you're very tanky, you have AoE, you buff your guns, and you overall have a solid clear. So that's pretty much it. Those are the stats, the mods, the arcane, and it's time for me to show you the shards. For shards, I will highly recommend going for 1 yellow for cast speed. Everybody likes cast speed. This will make your cast speed much faster. So going 1 yellow Tower Forge that gives you nearly 40% cast speed is something I will highly recommend. He also kind of likes ability strength. This will make his abilities do more damage. Ability duration isn't half bad as well. That's something I would recommend. You can also go for Toxin Status Effect, deals plus 30% more damage. This will make his first ability or any ability that you give it toxin damage do more damage. This is a very, very powerful. You can also go plus 10 abilities damage on enemies affected by corrosion status. This is also good. Give your ability corrosion damage, then utilize something that gives it even more corrosion damage, and you will do much more damage. You can also utilize this one here, that abilities that deal radiation damage will do more damage. You can utilize that as well. This also makes a ton of sense. And you can also utilize the plus 10% ability damage on enemies affected by electricity status, which is also really good. Personally speaking, something I will highly recommend, 1 yellow for cast speed and 4 ability strength Tower Forge shards, the crimson ones. This is something I will highly recommend going for. So that's pretty much it. Those are the shards I will recommend, and time for me to show you this build in game. So let's start. So it's time for me to show you Lavos in game. So this is up against the corrupted enemies, survival Ani at the void. I'm going to use a bunch of abilities here. Boom, 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 and goodbye. Yep, you don't like it, don't you? A bunch of gas procs everywhere. Oh, I didn't press any abilities, but it's going to still do a ton of damage. Goodbye. Goodbye. I kind of wish we had a system where you can, like, not hold every time. I wish you can just hold it once and the entire time you can have like viral damage on all your abilities or something. Or maybe it's reversed. You have to hold the ability to use the ability itself, but you just tap the status effects and you get them. Something like that. It's kind of overly complicated. I don't know how controller players play this, but I think it's annoying as hell. I don't know how people are dying with this guy. I saw a bunch of people complaining on the forums that he's not very tanky. It's like, just use adaptation and umbras and you're going to be absolutely fine. Like, these guys are Steel Path, early access Steel Path, and they are like tickling me. And like 80% of the content is this, and how the hell are you dying? I think EDA is also going to be very easy. Doing like level against 300s to 400s. I don't know how is this possible. His damage does exist with his fourth ability. It's a massive shame that his first ability, his third ability, and second ability don't do any damage. I wish they did some sort of damage. But right now they're just catalysts for your fourth ability, just reducing the cooldown. Augment for your 1 to reduce the cooldown. Third ability to reduce the cooldown for your 4. And it's just cycling around them and then using your fourth ability. And now you're just going to combine, like, let's see these two. Corrosion, I use ability. You can see right here, that's the augment that increases your elemental damage for your weapon and guarantees the status effect on your weapon. So if I were to shoot this guy, you're going to see a bunch of corrosion procs on this guy, because it's guaranteed. I wish I have some kind of... There you go. 10 stacks of corrosion right there. So if we were to do now viral damage, where is the corpus unit? There he is. Oh wait, I have to use it. Excuse me. Up. I need a corpus unit. There he is. Damn it, I can't show it. They're dying so fast. You can see that my health is constantly getting higher and higher. My third ability is turning all the orbs into universal orbs right there. It's a universal orb. I picked up health orbs, which will increase my maximum health. I'm getting closer and closer to 3000 health, which is going to max out my Arcane Bellicose. And yeah, you're very tanky, have AoE, gun damage, abilities all work, there's a purpose to press them. Crowd control is solid. Especially a second ability. You just zoom through enemies, rocking cold, freezing them. When enemies are frozen, they take more physical damage, which complements the augment for your passive, which is combining the element to give your weapon more elements. But yeah, that's pretty much it here. I'm just going to wait for the Acolyte. Up, there he is. Never mind. I hope it's not violence. Misery. Alright, that's fine. Let me just use a bunch of elements in Misery real quick. There we go. This, and then do this. Let's see how much damage this does. Pretty solid tick. And he's dead. Pretty solid tick. I don't know how the hell do people die, I just don't get it. This guy's like very tanky. Like, he's the same tankiness as Grendel, Grendel is maybe slightly more tankier than him, but like they're very close to each other. Grendel has more health and more armor, and also has the third ability that gives him constant health regeneration. But they are very close in terms of health and armor. And Lavos has an insta heal while Grendel has health regeneration for a second. But yeah, that's pretty much it here. That's Lavos. Time for me to extract. Give me a second. That was Lavos Prime. I think I explained everything. His abilities, his gimmicks, his augments, his stats, and the mods and the arcanes. That's pretty much it. That's Lavos. I just wish his fourth ability had vertical hit, and his 1 and 3 were not just reducing cooldown, they also do some damage. But sadly he didn't get anything on that, especially on his release. It's still usable, all his abilities are usable. There's definitely some content he just suffers from, or some content that other Warframes are much better at. There is, of course. He's viable, tanky, has abilities, buffs weapons. I would recommend. That's my Lavos build. Thank you everybody for watching. Leave a like, sub, and see you all next time. Thank you. Goodbye.